Here's left. Pulls up, looking for the lead, and got it. Jaylen Williams, 2 seconds, 1:11.109. Now SGA, probing, piercing, spinning, hanging for the lead, and SGA knocks it down. The Thunder finally get the defensive stop, and SGA puts them in front.
I'm Kenrich Williams. You're listening to Topic Thunder.
And welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Topic Thunder podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Huntsinger at Thunder Chats. We're part of the B-League Network. This podcast brought to you by betonline.ag. Now that's out of the way, Alex is just going to say fine if I ask him how he's doing. Both just hyped out the wazoo right now because we just watched the Oklahoma City Thunder play Game 3 against Memphis Grizzlies. First game on the road this series. And they were victorious. They won 114-108, if I'm not mistaken. And, it was a completely normal game. Nothing out of the ordinary happened. Thunder just kind of took care of business down the stretch. But now, obviously, if you guys are tuning in, you guys know what happened. The Thunder broke yet another record. I think this is the third straight game that we broke a record, or maybe not broke a record, but had something historic happen. The second biggest comeback in playoff history
since 1997.
Yeah. Well, no. They said they just showed it on TNT. Clippers came back 31 on the Warriors, I think, in 2019. I actually think Shai was on that team in a roundabout way. I'll have to fact that. But anyways, 29-point deficit. 26 points at halftime, and the Thunder battled all the way back to secure the victory, go up 3-0 in the series on the road at Memphis. Alex, talk to me, man. What are you feeling right now?
I had no doubt, man. I'm joking. I was doubting in the first half, and I was like, oh, man, is this going to be our game where, the offense isn't working? And then you have that shooting variance game where Memphis is just going crazy from the perimeter. They were one of the best, one of the highest paced offenses in the league, if not the fastest offense in the league. And that generates points. That generates their offense was predicated on, Ja's speed, them having him, Scottie Pippen Jr., Desmond Bane constantly run into the corners. And then you had, the two big guys on the outside with, Triple J kind of in the perimeter a little bit. And it just looked like it was going to be one of those nights where the Thunder just kind of get ran out of the gym. And it's just one of those nights where the other team has it and you don't. But, credit to the Thunder. They continued to keep going at it. They continued to play defense. They continued to, hit big shots. And, this game, a lot of the narrative around this game is going to be around the Ja injury. And whenever he left out of the game, that's when it kind of turned, and it did turn. And it was unfortunate. And I don't think, I don't think that that wasn't a dirty play. He slipped. He tried to get back into the play and he just caught Ja at the wrong time in midair. And Ja kind of did a Chet and kind of fell on his hip. Thankfully, he was able to walk on his own power, so I don't think it's going to be as bad as Chet's, but those types of contusions, man, they prevent you from actually, walking normally and from running and things like that. And it'll be very interesting to see what happens in Game 4 as far as his availability and how well he's going to either come back or if he's going to have to sit out a game. And, if that happens, we kind of saw what happened in the second half. That, the Thunder can focus in even more on Scottie Pippen Jr., on Desmond Bane, and it becomes an issue for them. But yeah, man, credit to the Thunder. It was a great comeback victory. Once they started on that path, and once they, especially at the beginning of the second half, I think they went on a 7-2 run real quick. I was like, okay, here we go. I think we got our mind right. I think we know what we're gonna do, and they actually came through in the fourth and actually, went all the way through and actually got that 6-point victory.
Yeah, so I'm glad that you kind of brought up the whole Ja thing very early on because, it was unfortunate. You never want to win that way. You never want to see that happen to a player because it's scary. Whenever a guy that can jump as high as Ja Morant can and he hits the floor like that, it is absolutely scary scenario. Gladly he was able to get up. He wasn't able to, come back into the game or anything like that. So I hope he's okay going forward. But the people that were just so quick to be like, oh, Lou Dort strikes again. Like, Lou Dort, the football player, like this, that, and another. It's like, dude, if you watch like what happened, like the refs like nailed the play because, when something like that happens, they wanted to look at it again, make sure there wasn't nothing extra. Dort clearly slips with not one, but both feet whenever Scottie Pippen flips it back to Ja. And he's just trying to make a contest on the play. Ja had in his mind, like, I'm about to jump over this dude and put him on the sickest highlight ever. And it was just, like we said, an unfortunate scenario that happened. And, glad that he is okay for the most part. That's not how I want to win a basketball game. But I think that you're also discounting, like, if you just point to the Ja Morant thing as, like, why the Thunder won this game, you're also discounting how hard it is to come back 29 points in one half on the road in the playoffs when you've had zero rhythm at all. Like, Shai and Dub are the only people that really did any scoring in the first half at all for our team. For the entire team just to, like, completely flip a switch in the second half, like, yeah, I think that you're doing a disservice to the team if you – like, I'm not saying like you or even Thunder fans. I'm saying like, talking heads, like
the national narrative, basically.
Yeah. Some of my friends was like, I even had to like, correct them. Like, yeah, like it sucks Ja got hurt and that played a factor, but 29 points is 29 points, man.
Yeah. Like one of the biggest things that I said as I watched this game kind of deteriorate for Memphis, and I was like, that's on Memphis kind of. Like if you have, if you spot any NBA team 27 points, they should be able to carry that game to completion in the second half. And, one more half of play. And they didn't. And, that is a testament to the Thunder. Is the game different if Ja still plays? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they shut Ja down. Maybe they, whatever they did to Scottie Pippen Jr. and Desmond Bane in the second half, they would have done that also to Morant. But yeah, man, it's one of those things where it sucked to see. I honestly think if you watch the replay of that play, like Lou Dort hits the ball first. Like it might, if it didn't end the way it did, it may have been like a challenge / overturn, because I think he does hit the ball first before the body actually hits and Ja falls down on his hip. But yeah, man, it is unfortunate. It is, when you play sports, injuries happen.
Yep.
You got bodies going around. And like you said, and one of the biggest things about Ja Morant was, he's going to make these sick plays, but he's also going to put his body in positions to where he could get injured very, kind of like he did tonight. And it happens. And, it's unfortunate. I hope it's nothing too long lasting. I hope he's able to play game 4, because I don't want to hear any shit about, the only reason the Thunder won, this series is because Ja was out the last 2 games or the last game and a half. No, we won by 51 points in game 1. We won by 19 points in game 2. Like, don't forget that. Don't get it twisted. We are the better team. It just shows that any team can be beat in the playoffs. And so we kind of came out today and it looked like we were going to get beat. But, we put in that work and we came back.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to give a shout out to the people in the chat. First of all, we got our boy T. T always showing up. And of course, you got to throw in my guys. Shout out T. We got Topher in the chat. Topher, hadn't seen you a little bit, man. How you doing, brother?
Hey, Topher.
Thunder B. Up. Absolutely. Dunk Sarah says Shai is still shaking off that rust. Yeah, we'll talk about Shai here in a second. Texan by nature, 3-0. Praying for you, Ja, and checkmate that like button, y'all. Yes. Hey, thank you, Texan by nature, because Tierney always does this whenever he hosts or he's on the pod early on. Like, hey, go ahead and like the video, comment in the video, subscribe if you're not already, hit the notification bell so you don't miss that when we go live. Viewers kind of drop off towards the end of the video, so let's get that up here in the peak of it all. But
let's get that subscriber list up to 1,000, guys. Let's tell your friends about this. Tell your family members. Let's get that up.
Yeah, because we've consistently, I think we're the only like podcast that like have gone like consistently post game after every game in the playoffs. And we're going to continue that. Like, that is 100% the plan, win or lose. Like, hey, it was awesome that we came back and won, but like you could ask Alex. I texted the chat, like, Alex, Jerry, you guys still good to go after the podcast? Let's just say Alex said yes, and I never heard from Jerry. So, anyways, man, yeah, I mean, let's talk about this game. Let's talk about this game because there's some storylines for sure. And I mean, hey, let's just jump in, man. Single large item it, and you know the deal. You get first pickings.
Man, I mean, just Chet, man. Chet's resiliency in this game, like to the point where, like, you know, in that first half, I was telling my daughter. So I have a 15-year-old. She loves Chet. You know, she came out. She was watching the game tonight with me, and she came out with the big what are those called? Those big heads, like the big head, big face, whatever. She came out with that. They had them at the game for game 2.
Oh, just like the little like face things, like on a stick.
Yeah. So they had them for game 2. My older daughter took one, brought it home for her. And so she had it out, but by halftime I was like, hey, put that head up. Like it's not working today because it wasn't working today. Like, you know, it was to the point he only had 1 point at halftime.
Yep.
He's struggling mightily, just trying to get his footing out there. I don't know what if anything Memphis was doing that was kind of throwing him off. I know he was the first starter out and Isaiah Joe came in pretty quickly. So I don't know if they were focusing a lot of their energy, you know, towards Chet and maybe hanging out more towards the perimeter instead of hanging out on the inside. And so it's kind of throwing him off, but it's all predicated on the 3-point shot when it comes to Chet. And so second half rolls around, you know, he gets open a couple times. He gets open in the corner a couple times. He hits them. I believe he was 5 of 10 tonight.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, he was 5 of 10 tonight. He scored 23 points in the second half. He only had 1 point in the first half. But yeah, man, credit to him. And he played in other facets of the game. He had 8 rebounds, battled inside, battled with, Triple J, battled with Edie from times. There was a point in the game in the second half where they literally had Triple J, Edie, and Santi Aldama out there. Huge lineup. And Chet was out there just handling it all, just, doing what he needed to do to make usually does. And so shout out to him. Like, this could have been a game where, like, we've been praising Dub and Chet for how they've been able to carry this team with Shai kind of struggling, not necessarily being his normal efficient self. And he came through in the second half, man. It's probably the major reason why we won this game is because we actually got some more production by somebody else other than Dub and Shai. And it was Chet, man. And Chet opened the defense up because he was hitting those outside shots. And so, yeah, man, great game by him. Great second half by him. And hopefully that continues on for game 4.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Chet was
Fathead. Yep. Thank you, T. Fathead.
Yeah, I got you. Chet was the absolute catalyst, man. And I was trying to look at this on here. Okay, sorry. I'm looking at stats for the next thing I was going to bring up. He's the guy. I mean, he had 24 points in the game. He had 23 of those points in the second half. He had 16 points in the third quarter. And in that third quarter was when he hit 4 threes. I think he had another play where he had a really nice finish inside. Like, he was the guy that was chipping away at the lead. And it was like coming out of the gates in the third quarter. Like, I even tweeted out, I was like, it would be awesome to have one of those like huge unanswered runs that we have, like one of those 10-0, 15-0, 20-0 runs right here. And I don't think we ever got that. I don't think we ever got like the unanswered runs.
Yeah, we got like multiple like 10-1 runs, 10-2 runs. We got multiples of those.
Yeah. But in the third quarter, it was all Chet, man. Like, he hit like 2 threes quickly. He got another one down low, and like off rip, you could tell the offense was starting to catch rhythm. And they were playing the right way. They were moving the ball a little bit more. It wasn't a bunch of like guys standing still, afraid to get downhill, penetrate, and try to drive and kick. And once we started to do that, the offense kind of came alive, and it's a big reason why we was able to chip into that lead. So, yeah, shout out Chet, man. And even like defensively, he had no blocks, no steals. anything like that, but he was still like a menace defensively and on the glass too. Like he only finished with 8 rebounds, but some of those rebounds were huge. Like late in the game, he got a rebound where they literally shoved him out of bounds. He still grabbed the rebound inbounds and saved it to Dub. Like even if they didn't call the foul, like he would have secured the rebound. So yeah, Chet was awesome. And honestly, his performance tonight reminded me of that Warriors game last year whenever he hit all those threes and then he hit the 3 to send us into overtime and everything. So yeah, shout out Chet. He's 3 straight games, man. He's just been absolutely phenomenal. And that bodes well for us.
Most definitely, man. Like hopefully we can finish this out on Saturday and give him another week of rest, because that Denver Clippers series, I mean, it's looking like it can go 7, but if the Clippers do another game like they did tonight, that series might be over in 5. So
yeah,
we shall see.
Yeah, the Nuggets got to get their get back next game.
Yeah, they do.
But hey, into a dome, first playoff atmosphere, like they brought it. So shout out to them. Shout out to them.
Shout out to them. Shout out to Detroit. Detroit basketball back in Detroit, man. Like that was pretty awesome to see.
Man, that backcourt violation that didn't get called, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
That was rough. Anyways, back to this game. I mean, we're definitely going to cover like all these, but I want to get into, in order to make a comeback like this, you obviously have to score points. And Chet was a big part of that. Shai was a big part of that in the fourth quarter. Deb was a big part of that throughout the second quarter, or throughout the second half as well. But defensively, Mark flipped a switch that we haven't seen hardly at all in the regular season. Usually, specifically, Alex Caruso and Lou Dort stagger lineups. I'm afraid Kat's pointed this out on Twitter, so like this was an original thought. But Alex Caruso and Lou Dort didn't play a lot throughout the regular season. That actually led to see how many minutes they played together. But playing them on the floor together was just an absolute cheat code and putting this defense to another level. I think at one point, Alex Caruso, Lou Dort, and Kasem were all on the floor together, like when we were really pushing the run. And it was so awesome because the Grizzlies couldn't dribble the ball, man. Like Queso was ripping it out of their hands. Caruso was poking it out of his hands. Like Lou Dort was bodying up and, just big bodying them. And it created – and not only did it create turnovers, which the Grizzlies only turned it over one time in the first half. I actually want to see how many turnovers they had for the game. They had 16 turnovers for the game. They had 15 turnovers in the second half. Yeah, that's amazing. But yeah,
you could see it. Like the eye test matches that.
Yeah, and it's not about just creating turnovers. It's creating points off of turnovers because OKC's points off of turnovers
26, I think.
21 points off turnovers. So I mean, creating advantages because that's how you get easy buckets. That's how you go on these gargantuan runs, these 10-0, 15-0 runs is by turning defense into offense. And we wasn't doing that in the first half and we were doing that second half. And that's because that tandem, man, that cookies and cream and then throw in the Depoy Lou Dort, there should have been Depoy Lou Dort. And then, you've got capable guys off ball with Shai, Jaylen Williams, you got Chet and Ihart down low. Like it's a recipe for chaos and madness. And, I wrote an article today, or I guess I wrote it yesterday. It came out today about Kasem Wallace and Alex Caruso and them being cookies and cream. And I related them to the Bash Brothers from the Mighty Ducks movie. Shout out T. I muted my mic and said it to Chelsea like while we were recording. And T actually called it out in the chat, but I just pretend like I didn't see it. But yeah, they remind me of the Bash Brothers because whenever in the Mighty Ducks movie, like whenever they needed physicality, whenever they needed to change the tone, whenever they needed to, create advantages, they put the Bash Brothers in there to just absolutely wreck the game. And that's literally what Kasem Wallace and Alex Caruso did in game 2, done all season, and did tonight as well. So yeah, shout out to that tandem, man. Like it's going forward, like, looking like you're going to play the Clippers, like having guys like Kawhi Leonard, Norm Powell, James Harden, like having Case and Lou Dort, Alex Caruso to kind of throw out there on those guys, it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge.
Yeah, man, it's everything that we kind of thought heading into the playoffs is coming to fruition now. Like throwing Alex Caruso out there and Case and Wallace out there is just, they're just showing you how much havoc and how much chaos they can create on the perimeter and just, hands all over the place. It literally felt like there were some plays where like Alex Caruso was E Honda from Street Fighter, where he was just like constantly just touching the ball and constantly just like grabbing it. And he put, there was, especially late in the game, there were some plays where he put Scottie Pippen Jr. in a bind and just took the ball away and, forced a jump ball, I think, there in a critical point there in the fourth quarter. And it was just awesome to see him being a defensive role player. You always hear about, 6 men are usually offensive role players. They usually come in, microwave scorers, guys like Malik Monk, guys like, what's his name? Lou Williams, guys like that have won previous like 6 Men of the Year awards. You never hear about a defensive perimeter oriented 6-man. And that's what's kind of becoming with Caruso in these playoffs, man. You just bring him in and you can almost expect just right, like on the rip, he's going to go ahead and get you a steal. He's going to get you some sort of chaotic, movement defensively that's going to go ahead and cause a breakout offensively. And it happened tonight again. We've seen 3 straight games of this happening. And, it's Caruso and Kaysen, but I think Caruso does it a lot louder and produces a lot more stats, such as the steals, such as the turnovers for the other team. And so it was just something to see, man. It was great to see that. It was great to, it's not a brand of basketball that a lot of people may like or may love. But basketball purists, I think, love seeing stuff like that because this game has turned into such an offensive game where like, it's just skill and, 3-point shots and driving inside. When you have a guy out there that's throwing his body around, that's, going after balls, that's like, getting steals, it's kind of refreshing to see. And it's a different look for the game that, that we have nowadays. And people aren't necessarily used to that. So,
yeah. And this is back-to-back games now with 5 stocks from Alex Caruso. Both games, 4 steals and 1 block. Like he's got his handprints all over this game and the last game. But I want to ask you, Alex, so obviously, like it's limited sample size. This is just this game, but Case Wallace and Alex Caruso played 6 minutes and 20 seconds together tonight. What do you think their defensive rating was as a tandem?
I would say under 85.
61.5.
Damn.
You want to hear something even crazier?
What was their offensive rating?
Let me find it here. 138.5. But you want to hear something crazier?
What's that?
Alex Caruso and Lou Dort, the guys that don't get to play each other or play with each other much during the regular season, played 10 minutes and 24 seconds together. Can you guess what their defensive rating was?
58.
45.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that is absolutely
that is stupid for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous for 10 minutes of game time. Like that is where you come back from a 29-point deficit is during that time. Dang. What was their offensive rating during that time?
It was 120.
That's wild.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. So they've played together 297 minutes throughout the season, according to PBP stats, but they've played together. So Caruso's played 744 without Dort. Lou's played 1777 without Caruso, and neither of them are on the court for 1124. So it's definitely on like the lower side. But yeah, shout out to the defense, man. Like that was, like I said, you've got to score points to make those comebacks, but defense is how you keep chipping away.
It's like there was a song by LL Cool J that kind of relates to like cookies and cream. The song was pink cookies in a plastic bag getting crushed by a building. Like literally you have cookies and cream when you talk about Russo and Kaysen, and then getting crushed by a building, that's Lou right there. He's a wrecking ball.
That's amazing. All right, yeah. Next single word item, sir.
I mean, I'm gonna go with Shai, man. You know, not efficient. Not. Here's the thing: we've been so spoiled. We've been so spoiled this entire season, his MVP season, and these last 3 to 4 seasons where like this guy he comes in, he scores 30 points a game. It's on hella efficiency. You're talking about like damn near 50, 40, 90 throughout entire seasons. And so coming into these playoffs, these first 2 games at least, it was a little bit kind of weird, to see him not be as efficient, to see him maybe miss a lot more shots than he usually does. Tonight, he came into the game, especially in the first half, extremely aggressive, extremely offensive aggression. And he's what kept us in this game whenever Memphis was shooting, what was it? So I put up a thing. I made some stats. Before Ja Morant went down, the Grizzlies were shooting 9 of 19. So that's 47%. After he went down, the Grizzlies shot 5 of 23 from deep. And so, but like, this is what kept us in the game because hardly anybody was doing anything. As we talked about, Chet had 1 point in the first half. Dub was doing good. SGA was being offensively aggressive and keeping us in it. He wasn't necessarily scoring threes, and that was kind of the problem there, was that Memphis was scoring threes. Shai had to score, was scoring mid-range twos. But still, without that, we possibly go down by 35 plus, in that first half. We kept it to 29 at the lowest. We kept it to 29, and then we eventually made it, our comeback from there. But he was a lot more aggressive. He was hunting his mid-range shot that he loves. He was getting inside, and when he got inside, of course, defense collapsed. He was kicking it out. Guys weren't making shots necessarily. But I'm glad that he continued his aggressivity, offensively. When other players, other superstars may have maybe shied away from that. Like he shot 10 of 26, 2 of 7 from 3, 9 of 9 from the line. Like that is what you look for in your superstar, especially in the playoffs. And in the playoffs, it's going to get ugly. You're going to, the defenses are going to muddy up games. And so a 10 for 26 stat line in the playoffs is basically like 10 for 20 in the regular season, whenever you look at how the games are muddied up. So 31 points, 8 assists, 4 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block. Once you get past the efficiency part of this was a classic SGA game. And he took him, Mark took him out early in the third quarter to bring him back in the fourth. And he played, I think, all the fourth, most of the fourth. And when we look at him defensively, he played most of the fourth with 5 fouls.
Yeah.
And so he still kept, there were a couple plays where like he had to kind of back off and the Grizzlies scored. But for the most part, he still kept, his defensive aggression. And still, played the game that he usually plays, and he played the entire game. Like he didn't foul out or anything. So, great SGA game, classic, just basic SGA game that maybe didn't look so efficient, but it was still, your run of the mill SGA game, and we needed it all tonight.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's. We talk about being spoiled, and I get it. He's not playing as good as he possibly can. The first 2 games, I genuinely think that, low-key experimenting, like he just didn't take the Grizzlies seriously. When it got close in game 2, like he got back to his mid-range, got to the rim like Shai would. Tonight, he started out, getting to the rim, like you said, getting to the mid-range, and he looked good. People still just start to freak out about the 3-point shooting. And when I talk about like the nitpicking, like specifically in the second half, I'm in a million group chats and somebody was like, Shai can't buy a bucket and he's shooting threes. And the chat was a little bit ahead of me. So I was like, okay, well, what's he going to do? And I saw they went through the progression. They went through the pick and roll. He passed it up. They gave it back to him. He got the ball with 1 second left at the 3-point line and he shot a 3-pointer. It's like, what is he supposed to do there, man? Like, that's a ticking time bomb. Like, I agree. Like, there's some plays, like I could point to plays that, like, some of the turnovers were like head scratchers for sure. The 3-point shooting, like, I really don't care about, the 3-point shoot. Like, I wish he would drive in more. I wish he would get to the mid-range more, but like, I want Shai shooting 7 to 8 threes a game personally. I mean, because we saw last year what happens if you don't have a variety in your arsenal. How easy it is to take away what makes you comfortable in your game. So I want him to get comfortable shooting the 3-point shot. But I think that there's a way that you could balance that while still being aggressive, while still getting to your spots in the mid range and whatnot. But and then the other one where he got his 5th foul, where he was literally trying to push Edey out of bounds and make it look like he just stepped out of bounds. I was like, that was the most blatant and low-key stupid foul that you could have done in that moment. Like, that was the one, like, I was like, all right, man. But like, even in the mid-range, like, some of the shots that he's missing, like, there was one in the 4th quarter where it literally like hit every part of the rim, bounced up and then out. It's like, I mean, he just can't buy a bucket at this point. But in the end, man, like, he made the plays. We talk about Chet making those shots in the 3rd quarter. 4th quarter, Shai scores 6 points, like, right off rip in the 4th quarter. Step back 3, gets fouled on another step back 3 to go to the line to tie the game. He was the guy that finally, helped us to tie the game. So, and again, man, like, it'd be one thing if he was just like chucking and not doing anything else. Like, he had 8 assists today. Like, he was creating advantages. Like, a lot of those shots that Chet was making, that Dub was making, that helped us, build that comeback. Shai was the assisting guy on those plays. So I get it, man. Like, we're spoiled. Like, he's the MVP. He has had a ridiculously efficient season. And like, from the All-Star break to his last game, he went on a tear like some have never seen before in terms of scoring and how efficiently he was doing it and the variety of ways that he was getting to his spots. It's a little bit different in the playoffs. They're loading him up on him like crazy. They're blitzing him at the half court. They're throwing zone at him. Like, they're aggressively trying to make Shai's life miserable. And, we've seen through the first 3 games, like, it's leaving other guys open and he's making the right plays, to get the ball to those guys. And it's empowering those guys as well. So I think it's going to be okay in the long run. I understand there was a few plays that kind of frustrated me today, but offensively, like, I love his process personally. I just wish, a couple of those turnovers, he got caught in the air a little bit when he threw it, but whatever.
And I mean, for anybody that's worried, I mean, if you're looking at this from a rust perspective, first game he shot 4 of 13. He wasn't able to shake off the rust in the first game because literally, by the middle part of the 3rd quarter they were done. Like, that game was over. Game 2 he shot 10 of 29. Game 3 he shot 10 of 26. So he's getting back to that rhythm. He's getting that rhythm back. I think those two weeks off may have affected him maybe a little bit more than he can let on. But this is a player that's going to get his rhythm back quickly, and once he does, that's when you start to get probably the Shai that we all know. So my prediction is for game 4, like, that's going to be a 35 plus point game for Shai, and he's going to do it efficiently and effectively.
Yeah, hey, I'm with it. I will say the other play that I was frustrated on was when he missed the dunk. But hey, shout out Caruso being there.
That was a little bit eye opening because it's like he was too smooth at it. Like, just go up there and dunk it. Like, just dunk it. Don't be smooth. Just dunk it.
It felt like there was no explosion in those legs on that dunk. It felt like Caruso with the layup that Dub was trolling him for on the mic'd up thing, but. I kind of closing out the Shai conversation. I'll just say, to your point, putting up like a crazy point total on hyper efficiency in game 4 to send the Grizzlies home. Whenever we met with Shai at the fan event, I had my go home shirt that we have on the Top of Thunder store, by the way. More things coming soon for you. I said, Shai, we got to bring this celebration back. Why'd you stop doing it? He's like, I'm waiting for a playoff game. I was like, okay, I like it. He said elimination game. I was like,
There you go.
okay.
Game 4,
So,
baby.
hey,
Expect
game
it.
4, Grizzlies, man.
Expect it.
45
Go
piece,
home.
fourth quarter. Shay's going to be screaming, go home. I love it.
Yep.
You heard it here first. All right, guys. Yeah. Going into the next part, single large item, we talked about how good Chet has been for these last 3 games. You also got to talk about how good Jaylen Williams has been, man. Like rising to the occasion, answering the call, doing everything that it takes for this team to win now and deeper into the playoffs. 26 points.
That's some all NBA shit right there.
No, yeah, absolutely. Alex Cruz said Queso was giving Pippen Jr. hell. I love it. Jaylen Williams had 26 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, shot 9 of 16 from the field, 2 of 6 from 3, got to the line 10 times.
Mm-hmm.
I think he led the game in the free throw attempts at 10 because Shai had 9. He hit 6 of them and he missed 1 down the stretch. So like I want you to clean that up. But like overall, man, Dub was absolutely phenomenal. He hit 1 through traffic, I think, in the fourth quarter after the Grizzlies retook the lead, in which like 3 people were around him. Like he definitely was getting fouled, no call, and it just like dropped him like a drop in the bucket, into the bucket, for lack of a better term. But yeah, man, I've been so impressed with Dub, man. Getting to his spots, being aggressive, getting to the rim, locking in defensively, just creating havoc on the defensive end, and it's everything that you want from your second best player, from your number 2 option. And, I've been saying, man, it's a toss up between who's had the better series between Jaylen Williams and Chet Holmgren. And it remains a toss up after tonight.
And that's a great problem to have. That's a beautiful
absolutely.
thing to have. Yeah, man, Dub was consistent, in that first half. Like we needed that. We so needed that. Whenever Shai had to sit in the second quarter to begin, he kept us level. He kept us within striking distance, and yes, the lead ballooned up to 29. It was just an onslaught from them. But I also think that within that, Dub did enough to keep us within, striking distance. And then by the end of the first half, we were on track to be down by 23, but Kennard hits that 3 at the end, puts them up by 26. But yeah, I think he just played an all around good game, and the efficiency that we're losing with Shai, we're getting it with Dub and with Chet. You can't have too many players not be efficient. But if you have, a couple of your other superstars that are having efficient games, it kind of balances out in the end. And so that's what we've kind of seen in these first 3 games is while Shai has been maybe working towards getting his rhythm back in that time, Dub and Chet have done a great job of staying efficient and, giving us the productivity that we need offensively to go ahead and win by 51 in one game, win by 19 in another game, and come back from 29 points in this game. So great job by Dub, man. Like he's one of the most underrated players, like underrated superstar players we have in this league. And he just continues to perform. And, the whole question about, how will J-Dub perform in the playoffs? If you haven't answered that, if you don't think that this has answered that question by now, I don't know what to tell you.
Yep. He's came in, he stepped up, he's proven everybody wrong, man. Also hit that 3 at the end of the third quarter to cut the lead to 8, to give Shai the chance to, hit those shots to, tie the game. So yeah, it was a team effort, man. And speaking of team effort, also here's another lineup and another like defensive rating, offensive rating stat for you. So at the end of the game, the last 348 minutes, the lineup of Chet, Alex Caruso, Lou Dort, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jaylen Williams closed out last 348 on an 8-0 run against Memphis. Can you guess what the offensive rating, defensive rating was?
I mean, defensive, it had to be in the 30s.
0.
Because they didn't score.
I know. It's just so funny.
Because they didn't score.
It's so funny to see 0.
Shit. And what was their offensive rating?
It was just 100. They missed
a couple
shots there, but
yeah. And that's the thing about the end of the game. Like there was 2 different moments where, like, I think at the end of the third, where Memphis didn't score for like 4 or 5 minutes. And then at the end of the fourth, again, they didn't score hardly in 3 minutes. Like, that is tough right there.
Yeah.
Like, you want to talk about how do you come back from a 29-point deficit without necessarily having those monster like 20-0 runs, 21-0 runs, without anything like that, is you're literally doing pockets of time where you are not allowing the opponent to score at all. Yeah, that was amazing. It's one of those games where you go back and you kind of watch the second half and you just kind of like, since now you know the outcome, you watch it and you analyze it even more. And I'm pretty sure when I go back and watch it, it's going to be like, holy crap. Like, that was a clinic out there defensively.
Yeah, no, it absolutely was, man. Absolutely was. Let's see here. Oh yeah, your next thing, large item. I apologize.
There's more. Let's see.
There's got to be.
I mean, off the bench, man, Isaiah Joe, just providing, even if it's just like small incremental spacing moments, being able to play the total game, not just be a Luke Kennard where you're just spacing the floor. Like, he came out there, he shot 4 or 5, 2 or 3 from 3, scored 10 points.
5 in the third
rebound.
Quarter. Huh? 5 in the third quarter.
Yeah. A rebound, a steal, an assist. Like, he was just overall, in 15 minutes of play, this is what you needed off your bench, outside of what Caruso and Wallace provided you. He was the other guy that kind of came in and provided that extra thing that you needed to make that comeback in this game. Again, like I said, he was the first sub off the bench whenever Chet was struggling. Mark kind of thought we needed to see a different look out there. And, he helped to open things up for Shai, especially in that first quarter, because he was out there. One defender could not sink into the paint whenever he's out there. And so it allows Shai to get a little bit of that rhythm in that first quarter and keep us, keep the Grizzlies at bay, with Shai scoring. So I thought he did good. I thought, again, this is one of those questions coming into the playoffs is, and one of those weird questions because Isaiah Joe still shot, I think, 40% from 3 last season in the playoffs. And so, this season we're seeing just a continuance of what we saw in the regular season from Isaiah Joe.
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about Isaiah Joe, man. Not just shooting, just doing everything. Like, he had 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 steal tonight, but he played less minutes than he has been. But man, he's just so capable of like doing all those things. He's turned into a real jack of trades player, while being just elite at 3-point shooting. So yeah, shout out Isaiah Joe as well.
And I mean, like, you're gonna look at the box score. You're gonna see Aaron Wiggins at just 7 minutes for a second consecutive game.
Yeah,
and he last game he played 7 minutes and he had, I think, 8 points, which is great production in those 7 minutes. This game, 7 minutes, he was 0-4, 0-2 from 3, 0 points, minus 13 on the plus minus. But here's the thing with Aaron Wiggins. Like, Aaron Wiggins is going to throw up these games sometimes. He's going to do these games from time to time. But then he's going to give you like a 20-point game here in like the second round or something like that. And you're going to be like, okay, I see it now. I see why you play him sometimes. I see why, you allow him to go out there. So for anybody that's worried about Wiggins, just wait. You'll be, he scored 21 points in the first game. He was the leading scorer in game 1. So just give it time. He's going to come off the bench and hit some threes, and you're going to be like, oh, okay, we're doing good.
Yeah, I mean, hey, he was great in game 2, man. 8 points in 7 minutes was great efficiency. I guess my last thing, large item, that I just want to point out is like, never give up on this team because this team never gives up on themselves.
Holy smokes, man!
I put a tweet out whenever we was down 26 still, and I said, cut it down to 19 going into half. Carry that momentum into the second half. And somebody tweeted at me and said, you are not a real person. And I was like, I literally replied like, I choose to be positive while others are negative. Sometimes I'm right. A lot of times sometimes I'm wrong. A lot of times I'm not. And I was like, it is what it is. And it's a mindset. It's a choice that you have. And it's a choice that the team has. Like, they could roll over. They could lick their wounds, be like, hey, let's go get game 4, close it out in game 5 in OKC. And, at the end of the day, nobody's going to care. Like, it's on to the next season or on to the second round. But they didn't. They decided to buckle in. They decided to dig their heels in and go out there and cut into that lead and win the basketball game. And the reason that, it's a choice, like I said, to be positive and to, choose to keep fighting. But also, we haven't just seen this team do that this season. This is a habit. This is something that they have instilled in themselves over the past 3 seasons. We've seen them do this countless time again. Like, name a deficit that they have faced and come back and won, and they have done it.
73 points.
Okay, well, that was 4 years ago. Thank you, sir. All right,
but but hold on, but even then, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, in the depths of the rebuild that we had, those teams still played hard. Yeah, and the players that are left from those teams, Shai, Dub, Dort, those players that are still left from those teams, they have that resiliency in them. They've learned that resiliency. Like, you can teach, you can have it naturally, but you can also teach it, through experience, through, so seeing that and seeing, I was one of the pessimistic ones, and I was like, it's good that they're going to lose this game like this, so that they know that they can still be beat in these playoffs. Like, when you start off by winning by 51, it's human nature to create an aura about yourself that, oh, this is going to be easy. We're just going to go ahead and skip through these next 3 games, and this series is going to be 4-0. But I was one of the ones that was saying, hey, it's good that they're losing like this. They need to go ahead and kind of, see that they can lose and still get their butts kicked. But on the flip side of that, the fact that they came back shows you another side of that. And so that resiliency is something that, they have seen through these years. And this team, even though they had, 66 minutes of clutch basketball this regular season. Yeah, something like that. Even though they've literally blown everybody out and hardly have any time where it's been a close game, when you get down to it, this was a close game. They made the plays that they needed to make. They made the defensive stops that they needed to make, and they ended up winning by 6, which I think kind of knocks them out of being a clutch game since they won by 6. But yeah.
Yeah, it's like you said, man. Like, you can't teach playing hard. Like, you go out there and you play hard, and you learn how to play hard. You learn how to battle back. You learn how to complete these comebacks, and then you learn how to extend leads off these comebacks. And that's kind of been the final boss, and that's something that we've seen this year. Like, we've seen down the stretch of the season, we saw multiple double-digit comebacks that turned into double-digit leads, like at the drop of a hat. And because last year and the year before, we were seeing these comebacks, but it was like the single-digit wins, like just like eking it out, like just finishing the job. But now we figured out a way to like flip the switch and even push past that. We didn't see that tonight because credit to the Grizzlies. Whenever we tied the game and they could have rolled over, we had all the momentum. They fought back. They made it close for like the next 6 minutes at that point.
They went up by 6 at one point.
Yeah, before we was able to finally tie it back up, and then Alex Caruso put it to bed with his clutch defensive play. So like, we didn't necessarily see that, but like, yeah, man, like this team has seen this. Like, this team knows what it's like to blow out a team. This team knows what it's like to extend like a big lead into a huge lead. They know what it's like to come back from a huge deficit. Like, you talk about scars, like this team has had scars over the last few years, and they've carried it with them, and it's a culture now. Alex Caruso, Isaiah Hartenstein, AJ Mitchell, like those guys weren't there last year. They weren't here 2 years ago whenever this was being instilled. But these other guys, they've experienced it, and it is a culture, and it's with them, and the people, they feed off of it. So, yeah, just never count this team out, man. Never count this team out until that clock reads 0. That's my mindset for everything, but especially for this team.
Yeah, definitely.
But with that being said, man, like we said, we're up 3-0. It's awesome times to be a Thunder fan. the next time that we play will be tomorrow, officially on Saturday.
Yeah.
During the day also. Like I think it's a 3:30
2:30
Eastern.
Oh yeah.
3:30
3:30 for you
CT.
people.
Yeah. But yeah, either way, we will be coming to you guys live post game, talking about it. Some combination of us will, because hopefully the Thunder finish the job, we sweep the series, and then we go home and we have a nice long break before we get a face off with a beaten team.
I'll actually be I'll be in the city because my daughter has a volleyball tournament, and so I'm hoping that we have a long tournament, so we're there, 6-7 o'clock at night, and then who knows, maybe we'll just roll to the airport, and see a plane come in. Who knows? That'll be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I will be. So I will push that when we play post game. If win or lose, like I'll do that even if we win or lose on post game. But I want to say now, find Devin Newsom on Twitter. I don't know what his ad is off the top of my head. He organizes these airport meetups every year. Shout out Devin. He is awesome. He will have all the information about what time the planes arrive and what time you all need to be there and whatnot. And
what do you know? It's at Devin Newsom.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. That's easy to remember. Spelled like it sounds. But yeah, that way, because like the players really appreciate it. They love it every time they come home. They get excited. They get their phones out. They're recording. They're dapping people up and everything. They're signing stuff sometimes. So definitely be a part of that if you're around the OKC area. And yeah, I'm done rambling. So I thank you guys for joining us on the pod. It was an exciting win, and hopefully it's the first of many on this playoff run.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and give us a comment, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out when we go live. And like I said, we will be back on Saturday, hopefully talking about Thunder Sweep. And until then, y'all have a great night. God bless, hoop when you can, and as always, Thunder.